So we are in 2020 and it is the month of Ramadan. This Ramadan has never been the same for the Muslim world. This Ramadan, all the mosques are vacant everywhere, almost in all the countries. Even in Grand Mosque in Kaaba, that mosque is vacant and nobody is praying there except a very small group of 5 to 10 people. This year has left a historic landmark for the Muslim world, where they usually look forward in Ramadan to worship Allah, to do a lot of good deeds, to stand in front of Allah, do Taraweeh, and do a lot of act worship in the mosque. But this year, because of coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, it has changed how Muslims worship Allah. Many countries, from America to Canada to parts of Europe to the UK to parts of the Middle East to parts of Asia and to parts of Africa, many Muslims are not able to conduct any worship acts in the mosques. Not only that, even Friday prayers have not been performed in the mosques. And the reason for that is because all the mosques has been shut down either by the government or by the health department to limit the spread of coronavirus. And this was a really huge problem for the Muslims because they were not able to pray their night prayer that's called Taraweeh. Usually they gather in the mosques on daily basis to do their 5 daily prayers. A lot of Muslims become really disappointed because of this. Some of them have claimed that they still need to go to the masjid or the mosque to conduct their worship prayers in congregations. But others have said that it's not really safe, it's not really healthy for the communities, and the spread of coronavirus will increase, and is not really the best option for them to pray in the masjid. The big problem is that the Kaaba, where thousands of people used to go to, especially in Ramadan, to do Umrah and other worship acts, have been eliminated, and people will not be able to go to Umrah to the grand mosques, and they were enforced to stay home and do their worship acts at their home. So from the beginning of 2020, somewhere from January, and we are in April. Actually, today is May 1st. We are in May right now. It has been the greatest historic landmark for the whole humans. It has been the greatest devastation and calamity that human has faced since a long time, because the coronavirus didn't only affect the Muslims, but it also affected all the humanity everywhere, from parts of Asia to Australia to the Middle East to Europe, all the way to North and South America. The death toll has been increasing rapidly from Italy to New York City to the United States in general and other parts of the world. So, but my whole point of this video is that a lot of Muslims are locked up in their homes in the month of Ramadan, and they're not able to go to the mosques like they usually do, and because in Ramadan a lot of people look forward to go to the mosques, even those people who don't go to the mosques in non-Ramadan months. But when Ramadan comes, they look forward to go to the mosque and, worship Allah and do their acts of worship and pray Taraweeh and gather with the community members and, socialize and stuff like that. But for this year, 2020, it has been totally different.
For the next month, Muslims will be praying and fasting even though their mosques are closed. KPIX5's Len Ramirez on how ancient traditions are being helped by new technology.
Well, normally this mosque in Santa Clara would be filled with hundreds and hundreds of worshipers during Ramadan, but now it's closed, and Muslims throughout the world and here in the Bay Area are having to find new ways to observe their holiest of times. The singing of Islamic prayers isn't coming from this mosque, which has been closed for weeks because of the shelter-in-place order. It's coming from a live YouTube feed, which for many Islamic families is taking the place of in-person services during Ramadan.
So is coronavirus a conspiracy theory, or is it something that's really legitimate? Is it man-made, or is it actually a virus that broke out from Wuhan, China, and is spread all the way to the West?
A newly identified coronavirus that emerged in the city of Wuhan in central China is now known to be transmissible between people. There have been a number of deaths reported and hundreds of infections around the country, and the number of confirmed cases outside China is growing. But what is a coronavirus? There are many coronaviruses found in animals, but only about 6 are known to affect humans. The strain discovered in Wuhan has been found to cause severe lung disease. The first reported human infections were among people who visited the seafood and meat wholesale market in the city. It has since been closed by health officials. Only a block away from one of Wuhan's major train stations, the market reportedly sold a range of animal meat, including peacocks, koalas, Chinese giant salamanders, masked palm civets, and bamboo rats. The location as well as timing of the outbreak are causing great concern. Wuhan is a major transport hub in central China, and the spike in cases started just ahead of a massive travel rush for the Lunar New Year. It is known as the biggest annual migration of people on the planet. The infection has already turned up in Hong Kong, which was hit hard by an earlier coronavirus originating on the Chinese mainland. The deadly coronavirus known as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, or SARS, paralyzed the city in late 2002 and early 2003. That experience has people in Hong Kong quickly ramping up protective measures. Doctors are reminding patients to avoid crowds as well as contact with animals if possible.
I mean, a lot of people have different opinions on this. And there are a lot of people who are saying that, the coronavirus is something that Trump has invented and was planted in one of the Chinese labs in Wuhan. And other people are saying that is actually, a virus that the Chinese were experimenting with that got out of hand, that got out of control, and was able to escape the control area in the lab from Wuhan. I mean, everybody's got their own different opinions. Nobody is gonna tell you the truth, and nobody is gonna know the truth. If you compare coronavirus to the other viruses, it's very mild. For example, in the 1300s, there was something that was called the Black Death. It was some kind of virus that broke out in Europe that killed more than 20 million people in Europe. In the 1300s, 20 million people will translate to around 250 million people in today's population. This is a large number and a lot of people that were killed by this virus. Also in the 550 AD, there was another plague that broke out, another virus that broke out in the Eastern Roman Empire that killed around 60 million people. There are many viruses that broke out, such as the Ebola, the Marburg virus, smallpox, the dengue, the hantavirus, the meningitis, malaria, the SARS, SARS, influenza, cholera, HIV, rabies, and many more viruses that broke out in the last few decades. I think the worst virus that the human being has encountered that was documented is probably the Justinian virus that killed around 50 million people, and this happened in the 541 CE. And this virus has killed almost half of the world's population at that time, 50 million people. This is probably one of the worst virus breakout that the humans have encountered. As I also mentioned before, the Black Death was one of the worst viruses that destroyed parts of Europe in the 1300s. So as of May 1st of 2020, there have been over 3,300,000 of coronavirus cases, 238,000 deaths, and over 1 million recovered. This definitely has affected the economy. A lot of businesses have shut down temporarily. A lot of major retail stores have changed their business hours. A lot of small businesses have shut down, especially the most affected businesses are the restaurants. This definitely has left a landmark in the human history, and everybody's going to be talking about 2020, at least early of 2020, in the generations to come. This has changed a lot of mindset. This has affected a lot of people and affected a lot of businesses. It has affected a lot of religious worship acts. Like I said before, the Grand Mosque in Mecca has been shut down, and many thousands of mosques around the world have been closed or shut down, and Muslims were not able to perform their worship act in the mosques like they usually do all the time in Ramadan. We'll see how long this is gonna last, and hopefully this is not gonna last any longer than we anticipated to. A lot of beaches in the US, like beaches in parts of Florida and California, have been opened, and people were able to go to the beaches. So hopefully the pandemic of coronavirus is ending soon. It definitely changed how people live their lives. A lot of people, thousands if not millions of people, were quarantined in their homes for weeks and weeks. Other millions were unemployed, lost their jobs, or got laid off. Thousands of people started working from home, and it definitely affected how business is conducted all over the world. So if you are one of the survivors of the coronavirus, or the people that were not affected, so definitely need to appreciate that. And because it's not a joke. I've heard so many cases that people that I know got affected by coronavirus, and friends of friends who even died from coronavirus. So if you are one of the survivors or one of the people that were not affected by coronavirus, definitely you need to appreciate that. So once again, I just wanted to remind you that, coronavirus definitely changed how Ramadan was in 2020. And people will be talking about this year in the future for the next, so many years, because this Ramadan was different from all other Ramadans that we have experienced. No Taraweeh, no going to the mosque, no, worshiping at the mosque, no Friday prayer at the mosque, no congregation at the mosque. None of these things happen in this Ramadan. So hopefully that will change soon, and hopefully, the Muslim people and the worshippers are able to go to the mosque to perform their prayers and Taraweeh and congregations, and hopefully life will come back to normal as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.